It seems that the massive Russian missile attack on the territory of Ukraine, which took place on December 14, will go down in history as the worst day of the North Atlantic Alliance. Even though Western media and many internet resources controlled by Western intelligence agencies carefully hide the results of this Russian missile attack, the truth continues to surface. So, it turned out that Russian military intelligence had been carefully preparing this missile attack for a long time. Russian intelligence managed to find and identify almost all routes of supplying the armed forces of Ukraine with Western weapons systems. Moreover, Russian intelligence also managed to determine the exact location of almost all classified NATO military facilities, including underground bunkers located at a depth of 20-30 meters. At the same time, it is worth noting that Russian intelligence has essentially done the impossible. Let me remind you that Ukraine is the largest country in Europe, second only to Russia in terms of the vastness of its territory. To find a classified enemy object and hidden logistical routes in such a vast territory requires maximum professionalism of the intelligence services. And judging by the results that we see on the battlefield, Russian military intelligence is coping with its task quite successfully. So, it turned out that the Russian side paid close attention to Starokonstantinov Air Base in Khmelnytsky Oblast, for a reason. The fact is that Russian intelligence received information that the West, in an atmosphere of absolute secrecy, has already brought from Poland to Starokonstantinov Air Base 5 units of F-16 fighter jets in disassembled form. Moreover, Russian intelligence also managed to determine the exact location of a secret underground NATO bunker, which was located on the territory of this airbase at a depth of 30 meters. As it turned out, the date for the missile attack was not chosen by chance. On December 14, 40 high-ranking NATO officers gathered in this secret bunker. It is reported that among them were colonels and even generals from Poland, the Czech Republic, and Ukraine. Russia launched a missile strike at the very moment when all these officers were in the bunker. According to preliminary data, all of them died. Moreover, the Ukrainian General Staff and NATO immediately classified the incident at the Starokonstantinov Air Base. At the same time, it is worth noting that this military airbase is the most advanced and well-fortified in Ukraine. In 2020, NATO spent quite a lot of money to modernize and strengthen this airfield, and in fact, turned this facility into its own military airbase. But, how did Russia manage to hit all the targets at this airbase, guarded by the best Western air defense systems? The fact is that Russia at first launched a swarm of geranium kamikaze drones, which were shot down by air defense systems. Later, Russia launched dozens of dummy missiles at this airbase, which depleted the air defense systems. After that, this airbase was hit by 2 Kinzhal hypersonic missiles with special power warheads. As a result, the hangar where 5 F-16 fighter jets were allegedly located was destroyed, as well as an underground bunker with high-ranking NATO officers. Now it became clear why on December 15, Ukraine launched more than 50 unmanned aerial vehicles towards the southern regions of Russia. It was an act of desperation because of the huge damage that Ukraine and NATO suffered during the Russian missile attack. However, unfortunately for Kyiv, all these unmanned aerial vehicles were shot down by the air defense of the Russian Federation. Summing up the results of recent events, it can be assumed that NATO severely underestimated Russia's military capabilities, and that the North Atlantic Alliance will have to say goodbye not only to its military airbase in Starokonstantinov, but also to its other bases in Ukraine.